Well, good morning and welcome to another vlog. It's great to be out. It's around 7:30 on Thursday morning. I've been here since first light, just watching the water. As you can see, the bivvy's set up, the bed chairs in there. It's just to allow Jack the Carp dog a bit of luxury while I get set up, and it keeps him out of mischief. Literally, I had other plans for this morning to be filming elsewhere, but due to Jack catching an eye infection, he's been getting creams for his eyes, so it made more sense to come here where dogs are allowed. Again, this falls within the remit of where I live. It's within close proximity in driving, sticking with the regulations. A few people asked on the last vlog about having the bivvy up with a bed chair. Yes, indeed, I am staying overnight, but again, here, while I'm fishing in Northern Ireland, the restrictions are slightly different and we are permitted to do nights, which is unfortunate for the folks in the rest of the UK that we couldn't all stick to one plan and we were all able to go fishing, but that's the way it is, and it's been fortunate for us in this occasion. I'm literally just here tomorrow morning. Jack's got a vet appointment first thing in the morning, so it's a case of getting the rods out, getting everything set up and getting a bit of filming done. Now, rather than going through snippets of the session, I plan on this vlog to hopefully take you through step by step of what we're doing, bait, rigs and everything, the whole kit and caboodle, and we'll see how we get on. We'll just document the vlog as we go along and hopefully we'll see a fish or two. The reason for being out this week is I'm off for February half term. I always come out over February half term. It's a great time. Last week, what a polar contrast. The temperatures at this time, the lake was frozen as I was leaving last Thursday morning. Today, it's a lovely, what feels like a mild spring sort of day. It's around about 4 degrees at the minute, rising up till about 7. I know as we creep closer to the weekend, in some parts here and in England, it's to go up to 15 and 16 degrees. I know for this morning myself as well, the pressure has dropped just below 1,000 millibar, and although the lake is only 6 foot deep in places, the fish don't have that much to dip down for a feed, and it is known for a bit of form this time of year. But with that pressure drop, hopefully those feeding spells will be longer and the fish will be happy to sit on the bottom. So hopefully something on the bank. If not, it'll be a great vlog blanking. But otherwise, enjoy the rest of the vlog and I'll catch up with you in a bit. I've got a 7 to 11 pop-up here and I've literally whittled it right down so that it just wafts above the hook with the hook placed flat on the bottom. Now, I'm going to test this in the margin. It could be something that I need to work on a few times to get completely right, and I'm just checking the hook point. Yeah, that's good. So just screwing that on with a bait screw. That is the ProLogic swivel hooks, and it's on to a bit of supple braid, and it's literally just going to waft on the bottom. I've threaded the needle through the pop-up, leaving a bit of thread on one side of the pop-up and the needle and thread on the other. I've got maggot and caster in here, so I suppose it really depends on what you prefer. Obviously the maggot will hold better to the hook. I have had these soaking overnight, so the maggots that are in here have probably drowned. The reason I've soaked the casters is just they're quite porous, which means they'll take on the water quite well, and by doing that it'll help them sink. And there is my finished rig. Hopefully that can be seen from there. Literally just that whittled down 7 to 11 pop-up and 3 maggots on top. I'm just drying the casters in my hand just so as I can use them in the PVA mesh. I'm going to go from right to left with the rods. Literally, there's a little bay right on my right hand side here that the first rod's going to go in. There's a point at the end of that tree, the second rod, and then the third rod. I'm more likely going to fish open water for this morning to see if that does anything, and then later move that one about. I know the other two are good spots. I've had fish off all 3 spots, but that third rod is going to be more a roving rod, because at this time of year it can be easy to pick up a bonus fish using a rod roving rather than something static for an entire day. If it's been fishing there for a few hours and nothing's taken it, chances are there's nothing there. Move the rod and land on a fish's head. That's what worked 2 weeks ago when we were filming the solid bag session, so we'll see if that brings any joy today. Conditions are better, rigs and methods are probably better as well. With fishing maggot and caster here, there is a downside. The lake is heavily stocked with coarse fish, bream, lots of tench and things like that as well, lots of silverfish, smaller carp, so we'll see if we get through to any of the bigger fish. It could be one of those things where tactics need to be changed as the day follows on, but we'll see how it goes. Well, that's the rods out onto 3 likely looking spots. It's 3 spots I've had fish off before. It's about 9:30, I haven't seen a single thing. I've got Jack the Carp dog with me again, who's trying to bury himself away. Come here. This is a very fair weather dog, he doesn't like the bad weather. But we've had a few liners in the last sort of 40 minutes that the rods have been out. Finally got the sensitivity set on the alarms. There's been a few false beeps with the wind, but there has been positive liners, and I think that's just maybe the roach and things moving in on those casters, which again, they may work, they may not, but at least it's dragging fish to the area. We're here and the bivvy is tidy to start, which is always a good thing. Clean bivvy is a happy bivvy, and it means I can be more productive in terms of the fishing and the filming. Because I am snag fishing at the minute, I have the bivvy open without the zip-in door put on. If it starts to get very bad in terms of the wind and the rain later, I'll have to zip the door on, but I'll keep it in a way that I can be on those rods. And then tonight I'll probably back them a couple of foot off the snags so that I don't get snagged up trying to get to the rods, because with all the will in the world locked up and the stretch in the mono, by the time I get to the rod, the fish could have made its way right into the snag. So I always, as a rule of thumb, at night make sure that I back off those snags when I'm fishing this peg. It's a really good peg, it's a productive peg at this time of year. The tree line along my right hand side here does a lot of fish, it holds a lot of fish, and again it's just about setting small traps. I have introduced a tiny handful of caster, that's it. I also have some of the stabilized plum, which is a shelf life from RG Bait, which is a cracking bait. With the third rod that I put out there, I put out a little stick mix of that boilie, crumbed right up to literally nothing. Are you trying to get under that sleeping bag? Do you want something? Do you want something? I bet you if I give you something to eat, you'd stay up. Well, we'll sign out for now, and hopefully the next time I speak to you, I'll have something productive to say. Right, like never before, here's a tour of the peg. So as you can see, the rods are here, landing net. The boat is there in case it gets snagged up, or anyone gets snagged up, they can use that to go out. You'll see down here we have a GoPro set, poised, ready, hopefully to get some sort of live take. It never happens on time, the batteries always run out, or it's when I switch it off, that's when I get the take. I have another GoPro mounted over here next to the cradle, which I don't have folded out in case I blank. I like to have the cradle just sitting to one side, and those are provided by the club, but the GoPro's sitting there. And then we have the bivvy. As you can see, it's the XLNT bivvy, quite a low profile jobby. Literally the bed chair is straight against the back of it, and everything pushed in. I've got the main camera there, which if I step inside the bivvy you'll see better, is the Sony A7 III. I've got a wireless kit there for audio, a little field monitor as well, a feel good field monitor which means because the Sony doesn't have a flip screen, I can use that for videoing and self-taking so I can see what I'm doing. Bivvy table, tin of Coke, the receiver and head torch. I've got my power bank below that and my tablet. That's all that's really right. Well, as promised, time to show you what we're up to. So, in my tub of tricks, there is a mixture of mostly caster, and in that there's also a few white maggots as well, which has been handy because when actually doing the rigs, I've been putting maggots on the rigs rather than caster. Obviously the casters, if I put them on the hook, they are easier off. I've just seen a fish. If I had casters on the hook, they're easier off, where the maggots will stay on that bit longer. So literally last night what I did was soak those in cold water, left them in the car because it was a colder temperature, and that just meant this morning when I was using them and testing them in the margins, they were sinking. Very, very slow sinking. A great bait, especially if you're fishing a spot you know fish are used to being in. Sometimes the takes can be instantaneous, especially with a slow sinking bait. And what I have to match that is literally a little rig with a whittled down 7 to 11 pop-up and 4 maggots, and I'll bring that in for a close-up. Alright, hopefully you can see that okay. The maggots are on top. Maggots are on quite loose because they'll waft about, and that's just a very supple braid down to an anti-tangle sleeve, and it's as simple as that. And I have a similar rig out on all 3 rods, different whittled down pop-ups. Some of them are the Raspberry Ripple by RG Baits and the 7 to 11 as well. I also have a Vitalac wafter which I've trimmed down, which is soaked in Vitalac liquid food. I have 3 rigs out doing similar things but in different colours and in different variants, just to see if that makes any difference. Sometimes I get to the lake, I get too excited, I get my pop-up tub, wafter tub out of the bag, and I've things on before I've even thought about it. I've tried to be more methodical with my thinking this afternoon. Now, that usually doesn't go a long way, because usually what I find is the more effort I put in, the less fish that I get. So maybe it would have been better just throwing everything in the car, arriving here, and not putting in the effort. But that's what we're doing. 3 rigs onto the spots that I've already shown you. 2 against snags and 1 in open water. The snags on this peg always hold the fish. There's a theory there that obviously because all year round the fish are in those snags because they're a handy place for them to be, but also, like I said a couple of weeks ago on the solid bag video, there has been a cormorant or 2 visiting the lake, and I think those fish feel more secure just sitting in those snags, and it's trying to get them out to feed from further back. Those snags go right back to the end of the lake. It's like a set of mangroves in there. I snagged a rig once and had to go in on the boat and was surprised just how far the water went back, far enough for a depth of the fish. So it's trying to entice those fish out to actually have a feed. But we're here, we're putting in the effort, and that's all that can really be said. My days are sort of numbered for these day sessions and overnights, because as the schools go back, I'll not be able to do as much, and I'll have to be doing more at home, and it'll be down to weekends. And I mean, lo and behold, this day today, the pressure has dropped, the temperatures have risen. Like I said last Thursday, I packed up here and 3/4 of the lake were frozen. Whereas today, I've arrived and absolutely perfect sort of mild spring conditions, really. So what a contrast a week has made, and to be honest, word spreads fast because the lake is starting to really fill up with anglers. There's a couple of guys bivvied beside me, somebody else further down that's down for a day session, and some other folk across the other side of the lake. And I imagine as the afternoon comes in and people finish work, there'll probably be some folk down to try and nick a bite before dark as well, if they're not staying. But again, the amount of rigs going in the water could push the fish that are in open water into those snags and could help me. Really, where my lines are, I'm not being cut off by anybody. I'm in a good place. I'm not pushing the fish anywhere. So For me, where I am is a good spot. I'm more than happy, and let's hope that something materialises throughout the afternoon. I'd be imagining, from what I've seen from this lake over the past number of weeks, it's probably going to be a bite going into early evening. That was contradicted with me a fortnight ago when I had that fish about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But again, that was just using that roving rod. And it's trying to get into my head today to be less lazy and actually use that rod as a roving rod, because I'm staying the night. I sometimes then get a bit complacent and don't do as much as I can. But we're really going to fish hard for this first bite and see if we can make it materialise. And hopefully the amount of anglers and pressure here doesn't put the fish off and maybe pushes the fish further around the lake. And as we know at this time of year, the more those fish are active and pushed about and moving, the more they need to eat. Their metabolism changes and they need to eat more food to stay warm and they actually keep on the move. So hopefully that does something. If you're just catching a glimpse there in centre screen, you'll see a tree bang in the centre of the screen. Literally the right hand rod is about 2.5, 3 foot off that tree. As right below there is a gap for the fish to go under, so it is snaggy, but if you fish it correctly there should be no issue. And then if we pan round, then right at the edge of this bush that is centre screen at the minute, the middle rod is just the left hand margin of there. It drops off a bit into water that is slightly deeper. It's been a feeding spot for the fish. To be honest, if I come any further right to that snag, since it's been cut back, it lends itself into a lot of problems. And then panning round further than that, mid-water, 12 wraps is the left-hand rod. Well, it's just gone past midday, and I thought with nothing happening to try and stay a bit more active on the rod, so I've repositioned them and put them back out onto the spots. So hopefully that does something for this afternoon. Plan is really to leave them out there till about 4 o'clock as the light levels start to fall, and then redo them for bedtime is probably the best option. I've repositioned the left-hand rod into a more open water space further out. It was in open water, but more towards the snags. I've moved it slightly further left across the swim. Just trying different things out to see if that makes any difference. And again, fishing the same 2 spots in the snags and the tree line, changing the position. I've moved it and inched it slightly closer to that snag to see if that makes any difference. You could be surprised what 10 centimetres or a couple of inches could do in terms of a fish feeding and not feeding if it's just sitting there lying dormant. So we'll see what happens this afternoon, and I'll keep you posted. Same thing applies, 3 maggot rigs out onto the spots, wafters, one with the Vitalac, one with the 7 to 11 and one with the Raspberry Ripple. So you've natural sort of brown coloured wafter, a fluoro yellow and a pink. So we'll see what they fancy. If nothing pays off in this afternoon, I might try something in white going into this evening, because obviously a lot of bread goes into this lake and has done through the years for the duck life. So we'll just keep plugging away and see what works best anyway. Well, I decided to treat myself and actually stick the front door on the bivvy. It's just with those winds coming in this evening a bit stronger, I just thought I'd put it on rather than waking up 2 streets away, have it secure. That although I'm away first thing in the morning, I'd rather be comfortable than lazy. Well, I thought I'd do a quick update. It's about 20 past 3. Not much to really say. A couple of liners again on another rod. I did see a fish right on the surface of the water, about 20 to 3, quarter to 3. It made me think, even with this pressure drop, that maybe a zig out there in mid-water, even though it's only 6 foot, might have did some good, but I didn't bother. So I'm just going to give it again till probably about 4 o'clock till the light levels start to drop, and then put the rods out for the evening and grab a bite to eat. It's one of those days, it's hard to know what to do, and to be honest, from conversations and photos from here, from what I've seen, it has been, you know, getting into early evening, first thing in the morning, first light sort of timing. So we'll give it a bit longer and we'll see what happens. Again, not really changing the approach for tonight. Just going out with those wafter rigs again, maybe one bottom bait tipped off with a bit of a pop-up, and we'll see what that brings. But still plenty of time before first light and before I leave. It's sort of 9 o'clock in the morning, so here's hoping. Well, I just lost a fish there on the drop-off inline lead setup, so I've changed over to a lead clip. I haven't put in the little pin so it'll run. So although it's a lead clip, it's a bolt rig, but as soon as that fish gets hooked and it shakes, it'll automatically run. There's no resistance to the lead for the fish to use to throw the hook. So that's basically what we're doing. And on that rig, it is a bottom bait, and it's literally just an RG Baits 12mm bottom bait and a home rolled pop-up that I've used for a few years now. Literally, because I don't have anything on the rig, shrink tube or anything for the hair, it's sort of KD style. I'm literally just putting a bit of foam over to protect that, and that's it, ready to go back on the spot. I'm going to redo all the 3 rods here and hopefully get them out before the light levels drop, get a bit of food into me, and that'll be me for the evening. Well, that's the 3 rods out for this evening. Really, I put them out a bit earlier than expected because the middle rod, I got an absolute savage take, and unfortunately trying to play the fish, it buried itself into the snag. It felt like a half decent fish as well, which is a bit more annoying. For a half decent fish for here anyway. But the rods are back out onto the 3 spots, and that's literally them, hopefully, until either A, one goes off, or B, we're reeling in the morning. But still more than enough time, and to be honest, I wasn't expecting a run while it's still daylight. I thought as it gets dark, that's when we're more likely to get a take. So we'll wait and see what happens over the coming time. Well, not what we intended, but a wee 3.5, 4 pound tench. At least that's got the heart going, and we know the rigs are working and fish are visiting the baited spots, so let's get the rig back out. Well, it's about 11:15 and I've just put back a 3, 4 pound tench. Was settling down for the night, just having a bit of a conversation with the dog here, and the rod ramped off, and right from the very start I could feel the head shakes that it was a tench, and that was practically it. It was a case of cranking it in, unhooking it and sending it back. It couldn't even be lifted. I was going to do a piece to the camera, but it was just going buck to aft, and obviously it's not really into their feeding time, and I've woke it from its slumber, so I just wanted to get it back into the water. So I just got a quick shot of it in the cradle. You've probably seen, and away it went. But at least that shows that my bait is presented, the rigs are working, and the spot is producing. I don't mind the odd tench as long as the carp move in. And as I say, with it only being 11 o'clock, 11:20, there's still plenty of time between now and first light for that to go off. I'm going to be off here by about 8:30, 8:45, because Jack's got a appointment at the vets at 9:30. So hopefully the night brings something. That was just good to get the heart bursting into life, but at least we're getting amongst something. That's that rod refreshed as well, so that's good to go again. So hopefully there'll be something else, but if not, you'll see me in the morning. Well, good morning. I'm usually pretty rubbish at the old sign-off pieces, but nothing to overly report during the night other than that tench. The winds really picked up and were hammering in to the snag areas that I was fishing. So really, if I was a carp, I wouldn't be too comfortable sitting in there getting bashed about with the strong winds and the currents. So literally have about half an hour left before it's time to go, as Mr. Jacko here at 9:30 has an appointment with a vet to have his little eye looked at again after he was there last week. So we'll have to get him sorted. He's number one priority this morning. But again, I've enjoyed myself. It's been good to get out. It's been frustrating after losing that fish. You know, that was obviously the only opportunity. This lake is always good to me this time of year. The problem has been as well, because the tree line has been cut, it's harder to find now exactly where that snag had previously been, and maybe the guys that cut the tree line, something might have fell in. It's just not fishing exactly the same as it previously did. When I did suffer that hook pull of the fish after it got snagged up, it just didn't feel right that I should put a rig back as close to that area. So probably fear made me back off as well, or fish safety really, but at least we've been able to get out for a session. This will be me now getting out until Boris or the Northern Ireland executive tell me that I'm back to school. So I'll just keep going for day sessions or the odd overnighter until I can't anymore for a while anyway. But thanks again for watching the vlog. If you haven't already, like this video, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so you don't miss out on anything else that happens on the channel. Thanks again for watching. See you on the next one.